Okay, welcome back, guys, to my Gym Friends podcast. This week on my Gym Friends, we are going to be having some really deep conversations, something that's deeply personal to me. We're going to kind of touch on everything, but I know that for our listeners, my podcast mates are my sisters through thick and thin. And they have been with me through many of good days and many of bad days. And the journey of raising an autistic child definitely has its ups and downs. The highs are very high and the lows are sometimes very low. We also have our guest with us, Miss Stephanie Olson.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited. She's the clinical director of The Journey Forward, an amazing clinic here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Also is an autism teacher for our school district here, and has done amazing work. I am so blessed to have her be my kids' teacher. We drive about 12,000 miles. I take 3 transfers and I take a submarine to get to her every morning, and it is all worth it. All worth it. So I wanted to kind of also jump into it because Rhea, this is your jam. This is like your heart. We all know that Rhea is the kid person, but she's also a kid magnet. Yes. Rhea invited me and Nia over to the school to read for Nevada Reading Week. And when we walked in the room and we did all the contained classrooms, autism classrooms, the kids, it was literally like watching a magnet work. And I've always said that, Asher from a very early age, once that diagnosis hit, and I was Asher's 16. So like initially it was very much low-VOS method. So there's 2 kind of streams of methodology that's out there to work with kids with autism. So ABA therapy is probably the most researched and the most evidence-based to see measurable change in our kiddos, right? So low-VOS is a little bit more rote. So when you think about, and I think Temple Grant is probably one of the most amazing individuals that ever walked the planet. But she's very old school, very like it's rote. It needs to happen. You need to, kind of work that thing out. And so I was very much afraid of ABA therapy. Like it really didn't, and it didn't kind of jive with parenting. Like it wasn't my instinct as a mama, if that makes sense.
Wait, what about it was not comfortable for you? Because I'm not familiar.
Okay, so it seemed to me like it was there was a lot of, you ask a question or you give a direction, and then it was like, then here's your treat, good doggy.
I've heard that.
So it was very, very much like, it was very rote.
Action reward.
Yes.
Action reward.
And then it also kind of created a little bit of more of a robotic, a robotic person. One of the things that Stephanie worked on with Asher right away was tone and inflection. And so like, remember when he was singing for Christmas, when he was getting ready?
Yes.
That was all Stephanie. So like, he'll say, hi, Mom. Now where it used to be like, okay, bye, Mom. Yep. No, bye. Like it was very do. Now you'll hear a tone and inflection in his voice. That would have been just fine with the low-VOS method if somebody was like trying to understand that it's just very compartmentalized. And I'm really talking like a parent, not an expert, because the only thing I'm an expert in is me and Asher's journey. And that in itself was super crazy and unique. We just were passing in our group text message, girlfriend text message group was that Kennedy just made his announcement on autism.
Oh, Oh, cool.
And so the announcement was pretty much, we have to let you see it, is that an autistic individual will never be able to go to the bathroom by themselves. They shouldn't pay taxes.
Yes.
It was very
I have it.
not, it was not broad. And what's a shame is that I do think that some of,
Here's the basic quote. I'm just sharing it with her so she can just read it really quick. It's a video, but you can just see the quote. That pretty much summed up RFK's statement.
And what's really,
I can see the confusion on your face.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with any of that.
Yeah.
None of us do.
I really don't.
None of us do.
I really don't.
So if you didn't see it, if you didn't see the clip, you please listen to it and please look at the quote. For me, in fairness to, if I don't even know that I have to be fair to the quote, but I mean, in fairness is that when I got our diagnosis, that was what I thought. Like I thought that's it. It was just such a devastating time. So if we rewind, Taryn was a baby, like maybe 18 months old when I got Asher's diagnosis.
So how old was Ash?
Asher was 2-ish.
Okay.
2 to 3 is very typical.
And
Really,
Like,
actually,
right
it's a
at-
blessing. Early intervention is key for sure. It really is beneficial to diagnose early.
So you found out at that questionnaire at the 18-month checkup? 'Cause
No,
that questionnaire.
I was
thingy.
questioning. So let me rewind. When Asher was born, we had a very precipitous birth, meaning that it was super fast. The nurse, when we came in, hooked up Pitocin instead of my IV on accident. So Asher was born so fast that he had scratches on his face and he had a monoclef. So he hit the bed. I was still in a sundress. Like Sean thought, oh, I'm just gonna go grab a sandwich because we're gonna be a minute, you know. And I called him and I was like, something's wrong. And then the nurse came in and was like, other people are having babies in here. You're being too loud. Like, what's going on? And I was like, something's wrong. I was like, I'm having the baby. She says, no, you're not having the baby. Again, I haven't even changed into a gown. And she lifts up my dress and she was like, go get the nurse. And, you know, Sean was like, you are the nurse. So all of that to say, 10 days after he was born, we went to go get a checkup and he had a fever. And so he had a UTI. And then we were in the hospital for 10 days with 10 days of IV antibiotics on a 10-day-old. When I say they moved the IV from his wrist to his leg to his foot to the top of his head. Like we were blowing veins.
Yeah.
And then they did want to come in and give shots. And I was really scared and I didn't really know. And there wasn't a lot of information, right? Now, mind you, at 3 months old, Taryn had her first surgery for her kidneys. So when I say that, I mean, there was nothing but God taking me through that time because I just didn't think I was going to make it. Like, I just didn't know what was next, what I could take. When we made it out of there, Asher to me was developing very normally. He did just want me. I did do all nursing. And he was my only kid that I didn't supplement with because he just didn't want it. He was giving me great eye contact. He was responding and doing the things just like everybody else. We did go get a series of shots, and about, I want to say about almost 10 months. It was supposed to be our 9-month shot, so 10 and 11 months. And then I saw a change. He stopped looking and responding to his name, and there was just a definite change happened. And so I just kept watching. There was a fear. I didn't know anything. When we made it to, for him to start school at 2, is when I was like, yeah, I'm looking at the other kids and as I'm getting ready to drop him off, their words are flowing. His words were not. And I was like, yeah, something's, and you have 2 older siblings. One is a bossy little girl. And then you have a younger sibling that is talking. And they weren't a bunch of words because she's still a baby, but she was definitely good on no. She had no solid, right? Taryn had no real good.
She still does.
She still probably does, yes. But so we just kept asking questions. And then finally they sent us to, I want to say it's Child Find. And then I went into early intervention. There was a series of tests. It wasn't like the quick test. Okay. And I can tell you that I knew I was doomed when Sean's taking the initial intake and he's checking more boxes for himself than he was checking for Asher.
Oh,
and I was like, okay, here we go, right? He was like, well, I do this, and I do this, and I do this. And, so then in my mind, it did get a little better, but then because I married the guy, right? Like he's fine. He's
a great
successful, all those things. But it still stuck with me that what if it isn't that? Because I was also with all the kids, guardian for my little sister that fell in a pool and didn't walk or talk. So kind of being around folks of all abilities, having that capacity, having that kind of love. I always wanted equality in those areas. I always knew to advocate, or I always knew at least to go with my gut, like that. Hey, that's not right. Or hey, if everyone can't go, you can't go. But Asher's hit me hard because I just felt like that I was scared for the world, how the world would treat him. And I think that I fought, and I think that probably people's opinion of me, especially in this area of advocacy, is like, oh my God, yeah, she is not scared at all. But the truth of the matter is that I drove up to Mount Charleston with Asher strapped in his car seat, and my intention was to end both of our lives because I did not want to leave my baby in this world. I was so terrified of what that was going to be like, him as a little brown boy, right? And what if I don't make it? And my girlfriends know I lost my parents so early. The thought of him not having a parent to advocate was like, I can't take it. Like like the girls will be fine. I'm thinking to myself, my girls will take care of my husband. I was really resolute to that. And honestly, I can't tell you what was turn the car off, turn back around, because there was tons of, I think it was actually Asher was crying at first. Then I started crying, and then Asher just went silent as I'm crying. And then I climbed into the back seat, and then he grabbed my hand. And I was like, gosh, all right, if you want to fight, I'll fight.
That was it.
Yeah, if you're going to show up, I'm going to show up. So when we came back down from that drive, I was like, I will never give up.
And you haven't. You're an amazing, amazing mother. And I wish that's one of my favorite things about you, Joyce, is how strong you are in advocating for him. And not just with, disability rights, human rights. He deserves this because he is a human. He is an amazing young man. And you fight for everything he can be. And I love that. I love that vision. And I want you to meet all of my parents because you give them that hope. You give them that vision. And for us, that's where my name for our company came from, was the journey forward. There's so many times at different stages that our parents feel stuck. Like you talked about when Asher was diagnosed. So many of my parents talk about how they feel grief
Yeah.
They have to grieve this life that they thought, are they going to get married? Are they going to live on their own? Are they going to get an education? You know, like what the dream I had for them is gone. So what does this new dream look like? You know, when they first go to kindergarten, when they first go to junior high, when they start hitting puberty, when they hit high school, when they transition, like so many times they just feel stuck. And I want them to know that we will go on this journey with you. It's not just elementary or it's not just junior high. They're not like segregated. It is their journey of life.
Yes.
You know, like let's take them into help them grow. And for me, I love ABA therapy. It is so effective in helping these kiddos. For me, why I love it is because if you have trained individuals, and this is where it's different through public education versus clinical ABA, is that I equate it to like a band teacher, right? Like a band teacher has to know a little bit about sax, has to know a little bit about the drums, a little bit about the flute, right? You have to know a little bit about everything. And that's how you can teach a wide variety of kiddos. But when you're an ABA therapist, it's like now you're going to specialize in the flute. Right now, this is my only focus. And, you know, there are different degrees in college, and it's for a reason. It's because it really is honing in on behavior only and learning that art is life-changing. And a student or a child cannot be successful in making friends and going to school and having a job until they've learned to be in control of themselves. And they will be their biggest advocate, right? Teachers are going to change. You might move houses. Someday, you are going to die, mama. You are. So who is the constant? The 100% constant in Asher's life? It's Ash. It's Ash. We have to give them a voice. We have to get them advocating for themselves. And research has shown early intervention is key.
Yes.
And so in my center, in my very first rooms, is the feeling room and the advocate room. I want to educate when they first come in my door, what is an IEP? What is IDA?
Yeah.
What does it mean to have what are my human rights? What are my rights as an American, right? We need to start teaching them at 5. So by the time they go around, you know, now I'm 18, 20, 22.
Yeah.
I've had exposure to it my whole life. If we wait till high school, it's too late.
Yeah.
It is too late.
Yeah.
It is so hard to overcome that curve. And we're just not preparing them. We're not preparing them. And that's why it's starting early and then taking them through straight on out to the real world.
So wait, one of the things that I just learned about you was that you didn't start in education. You didn't start in autism. You started as a journalist.
I did.
That is amazing to me. I was like, now I know we played in heaven together as babies, so how in the world did you not tell me this? Tell me how journalism, how this all came full circle. Like that's not like I kind of worked in a rec center and then I got into to education. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
So I have always connected well with people. I just love people. People are my passion. I feel like everyone has a story to tell. I think everyone has an amazing journey and everyone is amazing. And so when I was contemplating what I wanted to do when I grew up, I just loved interviewing. I love being a journalist. I love sitting down with a brand new stranger and I'm like, tell me about you. Tell me about your journey. Tell me about your life. And I loved it. And my dream was to be the journalist who like went in the bore, like torn areas and like just like got in the middle of it. And but my bigger dream than anything was to be a mom. And I loved, that's all I ever wanted to truly be, is to be a mother. And so as I started having my babies, I recognized that a journalist's life just really wasn't conducive to motherhood.
Right.
And so I really put it on the back burner. And then we moved to Las Vegas. And I was actually driving down the street one day and just shopping. My kids were all in school. And all of a sudden I see this little boy dart across 4 lanes of traffic, all across like me. Cars are swerving, going out. And he went by me, and the second he went by me, I messed that up. I said, that boy is
Autistic. Yeah.
I'm like, he must be from the high school. Something's wrong. Immediately did a U-turn. Pulled in. He was in the Smith's parking lot. He was going up to cars, trying to open doors. One lady was like scared to death, thought he was trying to attack her.
Yeah.
You know, like didn't know what to do. I went up, I said, man, he's just special needs. Like, he's not trying to hurt you. You're okay. But when I approached him, he was nonverbal, and it scared me to even run from me. So I just immediately got on the phone with my daughter's middle school, and I said, I think I have one of your students. I said, oh my gosh, like his principal's out looking for him, his teacher's out looking for him. His aide, he has a one-on-one, she was absent, and he just slipped out the door. And he went across Rampart, same thing, Encourager store. When I finally got him in the Big Lots, I saw the chocolate milk and the little, the drink. I just ran and grabbed a chocolate milk. I was like, you want chocolate milk? I didn't pay for it. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, you come sit by me. I'm going to give you chocolate milk until your teacher comes. And he did.
Oh.
And the principal came, and she was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And the very next day, I went to go pick up my daughter, and she said, I want you to come work for me. And I was like, nah.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I was like, I'm good. And then I'm being a mom,
Yeah.
But I had really been praying on how I could stay connected, and I was in this new community, and what was God wanting me to do with my time. And my husband's like, well, maybe God is answering your prayers. And I was like, ooh, maybe.
Yeah.
So shortly, like 2 months later, I was applying for a job. I immediately started in a life skills program. It's different than an autism program, but I actually loved that I started there. I really, really loved that. So I started as an aide, which I actually also loved because it really gave me hands-on experience that teachers typically don't get because the teacher isn't allowed to leave their classroom for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And so the aides really, having good aides, I love my aides. And I did that for 2 years, and the teacher I worked with every day, you need to be a teacher. You need to be a teacher. You need to be a teacher.
You say, I've heard that.
Yes,
You
a
need
lot.
to be a teacher. And then one day, literally, she said it to me, and a voice came to me, and it said, you listen to her. And I went home and prayed about it, and I was like, okay. So I started it. And so I always say autism picked me, I didn't pick it. But I'm so glad it did, because I never would have thought when I saw that little boy so many years ago how that one encounter was going to put my life, my family's life, on a completely different journey.
Yeah.
And here I am, and I can see how little steps all along the way, God has been preparing me, and all these things that I thought were separate, He's now bringing full circle.
Wow.
So like with journalism, when I'm, writing grants, or I'm talking to parents, or
Writing IEPs that are legal
Right.
documents.
Yeah.
it's all just been full
Yeah.
circle. And honestly, being able to connect with parents and pull out of them pain and helping their walls come down. These parents have been through it.
Yeah.
They've had horrible teachers. They've had horrible doctors. They've had people tell them your child's only going to be able to do
Yes.
this. These families, they have been through it. And to be able to get them to talk to me, okay, what is the real issue? What are you really feeling?
Yeah.
I really can equate to the years I spent as a journalist, and just helping people connect and help finding their real issues.
I think that one of the things that you said when you say about like the grief, it's funny because it kind of doesn't go away, right? So like there'll be certain things that kind of happen. So Trev and Ash are the same age. So like Mel will say, well, thinking about we're gonna have to get ready for driving. And then, I'm like, oh man, Ash will never drive. But then I'm also like, I don't want to say that to Mel because I don't want, because I don't know what Ash is going to do, but you grieve in the moment. But I also don't want my friends to not share with me. You know what I mean? Like Jet is doing amazing stuff, like really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And my boy is a big old boy. And I'm like, man, he could have been Jet's line. But nobody going to touch Jet. They wouldn't have been able to move my boy, right? Like, but so you go through these ebbs and flows, right? So like some mornings like I can remember I was making lunches one morning and I just saw you guys came back from a college trip. And I think I hearted it and said something smart and funny. Well, I thought it was funny. But, and then I put the phone down and then all of a sudden just bawled because I was like, this is what I thought, but it's not mine. And then at the same time, when you love, like I love Rhea, and you just, then there's the shame and guilt that comes because I love that this is happening. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Like I know the time, the prayer, the effort, the love, the attention, like everything you've poured into your babies. Yeah. And so balancing that as a parent is also really, really hard. And then also watching my girlfriends worry for us. Like there's so much that goes on behind their eyes. I know there's so many questions and they're like, can I ask? Should I ask? Should I say? How do I say? So we kind of wanted to do that. And as an expert, but as but I mean, but also a mama.
Yes.
You know, I know that there are times that you look and you think, man, I'm worried about Joyce, or man, I'm worried about Asher. Oh man, I wonder, can we do this or can? But Mel, let me tell you, out of all Mel is not holding back much. Mel is like, well, what? I mean, does he got a girlfriend? Like, what is that? What's going on?
She just asked him.
Yes.
So funny. So whenever he sees a girl he thinks is really pretty, he like, I immediately can tell.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
I'm like on him and like love
He's
on
like,
him. And so we talked a lot about keeping your hands to yourself and being a gentleman. So if he sees a girl that he thinks is pretty, he'll comes up and he'll say, hands to self. And I'm like, hands to self, sir. Keep those hands to yourself.
Oh yeah. So the first time that I don't think it was the first time he saw Ava, but he hadn't seen Ava in a minute. Ava is Mel's daughter. And I was like, did you say hi to Ava? And then Ava went to give him a high five, and he held her hand, and he did her up and down.
Oh my God!
He's like, hey girl.
We all saw it too. It was so funny.
We all stood there like,
what's happening?
Oh my goodness!
I love it.
And
I love it.
And he did it again recently at one of Taryn's basketball games, and the girl reacted just like Ava, where there was giggles and everything. But then he reacted with the giggle, like super bashful. And it just went on back and forth, and it was so appropriate. Girl, same age, at Faith, like I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like this is it. So like. Every so often we'll see little glimpses, like he'll slip out and be exactly who God made. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, there you are, I see you. You know.
Well, so many of them want that love connection. And I actually just got a certification out of UCLA. It's called the Peer Social Program. I'm one of 9 certified in the state of Nevada for young adults. And one of my very favorite sections that we do is that there's a dating section. So it's a 16-week course, and we just take them through from the very beginning. We start with, making phone calls, texting, but it's required that they have a social coach, usually a parent or a sibling. So we're training the social coaches, and we're training the kids at the same time, and then they're given homework. So at the end, we come together, and they're given homework assignments, and then they go home and practice. And there's 65% retention of the social skills.
I love it.
Because kids being practiced in their home.
Well, and it's highly preferred activity. It's a highly preferred activity. Like
everybody needs a social coach. I'm just saying.
Like some of the things I say, I'm like, oh my gosh, every high schooler needs to be in this class.
Shoot, every 40-year-old male needs it. The ones that are still single right now, we need to pull
everybody
them.
on those apps. Everybody on the apps.
Tired.
I'm telling you, I keep telling her, Ashley's gonna have a girlfriend someday.
He is.
Better get used to it now.
For
because
sure.
That boy
You better get used to this, because you're gonna have to share.
Oh no.
He does, and Asher's.
I know he does. I do know that he wants that. I do know that he does.
He really does.
I know that he does, because Yeah, I definitely know that he does. I know that he does because he'll even practice holding my hand sometimes. He'll, yeah, he's an affectionate kid. And that was one of the things too, like when he first got a diagnosis, I was like, I don't want a kid that doesn't want to kiss me and hug on me. I don't understand. And I was like, okay. And God was like, no problem.
Yeah,
I was like, not a problem. He was
That's not
like,
Asher.
that's not Asher at all, at all.
And that's a gift. That is one of Asher's God-given gifts. It really is.
Listen, and if somebody's hurting, he'll come.
Well, I was just going to bring up the telepathy tapes.
Yes.
I don't remember how I heard about it. Have you heard about this? I don't remember where it was advertised that I saw it, but then it's a podcast.
Okay.
And it is done by a doctor, and I don't remember her name, so I'd have to go back and I'll share it with you.
I'd love
But
to.
she discovered that many autistic, or I believe she said all, have telepathy that they practice, and they can even read our own minds. So he can be
And feel
upstairs
it.
right now and energetically know and through telepathy hear our thoughts and things, which is why a lot of times the sound is hard
We're
for
trying to
them.
block it out.
Especially in a large group, right? Because there's a lot of people. So she actually went to homes and did some studies with parents and kids. And the mom would look at a number on a sheet of paper where the child was not close enough to see, and the child would say the number. And many other studies like that, but it was just so cool to see. Like I always say, Asher's superpowers.
Yeah.
And this falls right in line with that because I didn't even know that had, that study had occurred, and then here we are. So
Oh yeah, she said
That's
Asher's
cool.
superpowers
I love that.
way before this came out. But it also was the super feeling. Like
yes,
Asher has a lot of like he feels a lot. Some I think are his, and some I don't think are his. Like I feel like he can feel other
Yes,
people.
they can.
So
Well, I think with any sense, right? If you can't see, they say that your hearing improves.
Yes.
Right. So it makes sense that if they have a deficit in one area, that their body and their brain compensates. It's like kind of what we were talking about before, how the human body is just so much more powerful than we give credit for. It really is. That's fascinating. You have to share that.
yeah.
you have to look at it.
It was
It's
really
very, very cool. And then you'll start to look at your students and Ash and be like, oh, that's what it is.
Well, and Ash will come up and hug you when you're like, your emotions
Emotional,
are
sad,
different.
yeah.
Your emotions are really high the other day, and he's feeling it
Yeah.
energetically. You can tell, and you're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and
His
yes.
stems will shoot up if he sees that I'm ready.
100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But also when you can tell the story about when my sister died. So when my sister died, like y'all know, I was not
Done.
in
Yeah, she was
good
done.
in a good
Yeah.
shape.
Right.
And then the school year started, and I came to Stephanie and I was like, look, I lost my sister. It's just been rough. Like this is not. I don't, because she immediately like, what's wrong with you? So, and Asher, I don't think at first was really exhibiting it until he got into the classroom, and then
Yeah. So, and it was when I was with him at vets one time too.
yeah,
So Joyce had shared with me, like, he just got super emotional, started to cry. I had a student, his mother passed away from COVID, and she had 5 siblings, 5 brothers and sisters total. And he came to school the day of the funeral. And I was like, I cannot even believe this boy is here. And then I thought about it, and I was like, autistic kids are they like predictability.
It's a safe space.
He knew the schedule of school, he knew what to expect.
yeah,
Home was not that way, right? Every aspect was just
off,
struggling.
yeah,
And from that, right around the same time, another one of my students, his granddad passed away, but he was being raised by a single mom. His grandpa was like his man,
his dad, yeah,
and it happened within like a month period. And I started saying, how can I teach these children about grief? How do they even recognize what that means? And so I started bringing that into dialogue, and actually that's one of the social classes that I wanted to develop is a grief class. But I was sitting with Ash, and he just got really sad, and he started to cry. And I had asked Joyce to share me a picture of her sister, and I said, Asher, how are you feeling? Like, how are you feeling? And then I showed him the picture, and he was like, sad. And I could instantly tell. And then he started asking for her. And he, in that moment, he was missing her, and I could feel it.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps even now. It was like, and he doesn't know where she is. Like, and he would say it. You know, I could tell that he was kind of saying some things that you had said.
Yeah.
But that innate grief that I miss her.
Yeah.
And so I think it's something that really needs to be talked about. I think we need to explore that, to develop that more. And that's something that I am always trying to advocate for, is they feel every emotion. Nonverbal does not mean non-feeling.
Right.
Nonverbal does not mean non-understanding.
Absolutely not. I think.
Nonverbal doesn't mean non-dreaming. You
Oh,
know,
that
at
was a good
all,
one.
you
Doesn't
know?
mean non-dreaming.
They really, of course, why would they not?
Yeah.
You know, they feel everything that we feel.
I think one of the things that I just appreciated was that we did start to have the dialogue about where she was, because I still talk out loud. Like sometimes I'll feel her and I'll be like, "Oh, Jan, I miss you." And then I say, "Answer, do you miss Auntie Janet?" And she'll say, "Auntie Janet is in heaven." And I'm like, "Yes, she is." Yes, she is. But I think that one of the things that really did resonate with me once I kind of started to understand ABA was that it wasn't just behavior that they were bringing under control. It was their ability to slow down emotion, to be able to process things differently. Now, whereas before I couldn't see Asher processing, so I would just see him like, what I thought was he was just avoiding me. Like I was shooting out, I need you to do this. It's like, okay. And then he just do this.
Just turn away. Like,
He is processing what I'm saying. And also what I started to really understand was that he was also very much listening. So if I'm talking to whoever I'm talking to, if it was like I didn't have too many babysitters, but you know, if I was talking to a babysitter or a teacher or a new ABA therapist, he would never leave the room. He wanted to know what information I was giving them, because then he's like, okay, the jig is up. If I try to play dumb, that's why he waits a lot in the morning. Like when I'm like, okay, guys, I'm gonna go run upstairs and get dressed. When we shoot our podcast, everyone comes and it's I'll run upstairs and get dressed after everyone gets here. And he won't ask for breakfast. He waits. And he waits till the girls come, and then he'll be like, I want an omelet.
Yep.
No, he'll take all the food out that he wants
that was,
to have cooked.
And
I'm
he
like,
sits right there with us.
we're gonna have muffins or whatever else I have out.
Yeah.
And they're just like, sure, we're gonna have. I'm like, oh, it's just like everybody gets omelets. It's the omelet house. Like, they're all
He's
waiting.
good. He's good.
I love it.
So, ladies, what? And I know, Liz, I see you tearing up. I know that there's a few things that you guys have thought about and worry about for us. But worry about in general. What are those things?
Well, like when I asked you the other day when we were hanging out, I felt bad afterwards. Like when I asked you, like, do your kids have a bedtime?
Yeah.
Because I was like, that kind of sounded so shitty, like he's a baby.
Okay.
I was like, that kind of sounded so, well, I like got in the car and I was like, not like a baby. Like, does he go hang out in his room and watch TV and listen to music?
Does he have a curfew?
Yeah, like,
So let me just say this, as like, first and foremost, I think that as a mom, I love when people ask me questions and don't just give me sympathy.
okay.
I like that.
That's the
I like
first.
that.
That's the first, because that lets me know that you really do want to know, and that's for public. That's for strangers. Like I feel like that.
Yeah.
For my friends, my sisters, I know your intention isn't any of those things,
good.
so I don't feel that way at all ever. I don't feel that way when you celebrate the kids.
Okay.
I'm so excited. Like I don't want to miss out hearing the new stuff that's happening with the kids, and I don't want it to be titrated.
Right.
Because I want to celebrate with you. That's part of a relationship. It's part of girlfriends. It's part of just watching each other's kids grow up.
Right.
Yeah.
The same way that when I call y'all and say, Asher got dressed for homecoming, he got Spider-Man out. And y'all are all geeking out over my 111 pictures of his Spider-Man glasses and the Spider-Man boutonniere and the Spider-Man shoes. And you're like, oh, George, yes, bro, you should, you know, like, there's no difference in that for me. But I really, really, really appreciate when people ask questions and not just say, oh, it's okay, or oh, I totally get it, or I understand. Because again, sometimes they don't. Asher's a very handsome young man. That is my unbiased opinion. And you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And that's typically with autism. There's not, I mean, there are some kids that are profoundly affected, and you can see right off. Ash is just he doesn't present that way. But then sometimes he really does present that way. Then sometimes you'll see Asher a mile away and you'd be like, yep, that's that autism tism today. You know, his stems are higher. And then sometimes, you know, I can walk into a store and he's cool as a cucumber, and I'm so happy that he is, because sometimes I get a little nervous getting out the car, but I get out the car with Ash. What I think might be a threat or I think might be waiting on me is like, never mind. And he can keep it real cool like that. So all of that to say, ask questions, be engaged. I love it. I love it because I also feel like it's important for you guys to be able to give it, you know,
to educate yourself so that you can advocate, right? So that when you meet someone not Asher, you already know what to do. And that's the goal.
Or when people that you meet are just starting the process, or Ria's cousin.
Yes.
They just recently got a diagnosis, and they were like, call Joyce.
Yep. Immediately.
So we just started texting. I want you guys to be equipped. I want you guys to speak with confidence about Asher. Like, that's like my baby Asher. He could do this, and this.
Yes.
He wasn't talking. He is talking. He wasn't, you know, we had to go through potty training, that, you know, like all the things that you know for a fact. Speak on that 10 toes down and help somebody else. For sure. And I love it. I think that's the way that we honor him and his journey and every tear that I've dropped.
And if anything that I could say to parents is to find joy in the journey. So like when you reach that milestone, like by age 5, they should be doing this. Parents grieve because they're not reaching that. And it's easy when you're in the thick of it to think that they never will. So I've had one student, and I've had him since he was in 6th grade. So I had him when he was 11. He's a junior now. And I have loved that journey with him because I have been able to see him, like about 6 months ago, he finally did 100% independent, a skill that I started working with in 6th grade.
Wow.
And so one of my aides, who I love, she had a son who was severely autistic, nonverbal. He was 28. And I learned so much from her, but she would say, they're still growing. They're still learning.
Yes.
And what, you know, Asher can do now is going to be different than what he can do when he's 28. And that's why I wanted to do the center the way I'm doing it, is because I don't want to limit them by age. I don't want to limit them by graduation. The stuff that they may not be able to do now, they most likely will be able to do at 32, at 26, at 45.
And the other thing is that I think that also has to be clearly defined and clearly set out there, because there is so much misinformation about autism. Is that autism, and I'm going to use the ugliest word, it's like using the N-word for me, is autism is not mental retardation. Like, there's not a limit to what the autistic children can learn or do, or like they don't digress. They don't have a skill and then lose the skill. They may not show you the skill again. Doesn't mean they lost it.
Right.
I mean, our our kiddos are extremely brilliant. You have to find what they love and use that with every bit of your power. I mean, maximize it with every bit of everything. I used to have a whole bedroom, you guys know, we call it the therapy room, that I would lock because we had every toy that he loved. I had everything that was in there. Anything that was in an ABA office, I had in my own room. I had work in progress books, meaning from Ron Leaf. That's the protege to Dr. Lovas, who started to develop a much less rote version of ABA, more transferable, more relatable, more realistic, where kids could stop being so robotic, right? And I because I couldn't understand, I was like, I have to understand.
Yeah.
And what I don't know, I'm like, let me find out about. So that's why I think that it's important that you guys do talk and you do ask, and you don't, when you don't know, because some of that too heals my grief. Like when you were like, they just threw me in the room.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I was like,
I said, huh? What?
And I was like, you need to take this class, this class, this class, and this class.
I was like, oof.
And you took that on your own.
Yeah.
That was not
That's
CCSD.
amazing. And I'm not even, that's amazing
I will say this. There was an aide at the school that I worked with that made it a lot easier because I will say I was very ignorant. So what you just said about ability and expectation, I walked in thinking there's no way you're going to be able to control this room because they had lost their teacher. It was somewhat chaotic, no routine. It was a mess. By, I would say, 2 weeks in, these kids are sitting on their letters on the carpet, crisscross applesauce.
Yes.
And I said, huh? She said, they can do it.
Yeah.
You have to put the expectations out there and you have to be consistent. They can do it. And I remember we were walking to the bus and they have their little rope with the rings, and one little girl wanted to hold my hand. So I'm holding her hand, and the aide said, please let go of her hand. Please make her hold the rope. Yes. And I said, okay. Then she apologized to me. I said, for what? She said, well, I didn't mean to disrespect you or be mean. I said, no, you're teaching me. Yeah. If you don't tell me, I don't know.
Yeah.
She said, I said, you're trying to make her independent. Me holding her hand is not going to teach her. Do not apologize for teaching me. And she's like, oh, thank God. She's like, I couldn't sleep all night. I said, girl, please. Girl, bye.
I literally thought about it forever.
Yeah, but that's learning for me. Yeah. You can't go into a situation where you have no knowledge and get offended when someone tries to correct you.
Right.
If you don't tell me what to do and to make it better, I can't do it.
Well, but you're teachable. And
Well,
that's amazing. And that's what I hope anyone listening to this can learn. It's just what you're saying. Learn about it.
Yes.
Ask questions. Be open. And the thing that is so funny is they can do it.
Yes.
Like I've never had a student who hasn't risen to whatever challenge I've given them.
100%.
And that is 100% true. And age appropriate is not something I think that's talked about enough.
Yeah.
So you have ability appropriate and then age appropriate.
Yes.
So when you talked about, is it his bedtime? Immediately my high school teacher said, Ash is in high school. An appropriate thing would have said, when's his curfew? That's a very high school, hey, do you have a curfew? You know, it's like doing age appropriate and matching that ability is important. I have one student who he would always say, I need to use the potty. And I was like, you don't want to use the potty? Right. You're 17 years old.
Right.
You need to use the restroom.
Absolutely.
You need to use the restroom.
Yes.
And I will say that's probably a hard task for your parents.
It is.
It
Love
really
my
is.
parents.
Yeah, it's
And you have to bring the parents along with you.
And that's a tough one.
You have to.
That's a tough one because you can see when they walk out the gate, they change. And I'm looking, I'm like, you did not do that all day. Put him down right now. Make him walk. Put him down right now.
I have to bite my tongue sometimes when I see my parents in different situations. I always respect my parents. I'll always listen to them. They know their child more than them. But they get played. They do. They get played
Lincoln agrees.
sometimes.
The dog agrees.
Yeah.
They do. But with ABA, I will say, to your point, Joyce, I honestly believe in the clinical ABA to the T, especially in those younger years. Like you have to teach them. But my personal philosophy with ABA is it has to be faded. Has to be faded. It creates that foundation. It allows them to not stand out so much from their peers. That helps them control their emotions. I have something called a emotions volcano. And like I just have the kids put in every emotion. I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm bored, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
And then we talk about that. Even good emotions can build up. They can be really excited, but they don't know what to do with that feeling. And so they have to, one, name the emotion and recognize what it is, and then be taught what to do with that emotion. And then when they do that, so I always ask my students, what do you do when you feel sad? Because they'll say, I'm sad. And then they'll, or I'm happy, and they'll be bawling. And I'm like, sweetheart, you're not happy right now.
Yeah.
So I will literally show them, I have mirrors that I hold up to them. And I was like, this is not happy. Look at your body language. What are your eyes doing?
Yeah.
And I help them to define what it means. And then I say, okay, if you're hungry, Asher, what are you going to do? And he'll say, Chick-fil-A. That's right. You're going to go with mom to Chick-fil-A. And then I erase that emotion out of the volcano. Because I'm like, it's when you get too many emotions, that's when you explode. And we have to teach you what to do with that emotion, good or bad, so that you can address that emotion and it's taken off so that it doesn't keep building that pressure.
And I think that what ABA was for us, it was more that we were able to get the behavior, not that he really had behaviors. I got really lucky, but that I was able to teach or understand how to break down what I was trying to teach him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with Taryn or with Nia or Miles, when we were learning how to write or learning how to go to the bathroom, it was a lot of modeling, and it was I didn't do a lot of talking. Yeah. I didn't realize how it was. We were, it's like this, and as a woman of color, I parent with my face. I parent with the and Asher's like, what is going on? I have no idea what's happening. I mean, even sometimes you'll see, I'll make a face and he makes the same face.
He does.
Out here making faces at each other. He doesn't quite know. He just knows it's not the right thing.
Right.
Yeah. Right. He's trying to guess at you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the breaking down of teaching these, whatever it is, teaching whatever, tying shoes, whatever. I mean, when I tell you we taught putting on underwear, we taught putting on socks, I had the pecs on drawers, on cabinets in my house where he knew where to put things away. It was such a process for such a long time that Asher became more prompt dependent because I had to learn how to teach him, and I learned how to teach him with a ton of words. So now when you're talking about fading it back, I have to fade back prompts. Not do that he has to get his emotions under control. He's now okay, dummy, I'm gonna make you tell me everything you want me to do because I'm not going to fill in the blanks for you. Because I never pulled back and just did. Now that's not it. You need to do something else, or no, you're missing a step. What step are you missing?
Put it back on them. I have so many kids and my students, they'll hand me their milk and just do this. Yeah. Nope. And I look at them like, what does that mean? And I'll say that to them, what does that mean? And then they'll say, help please. And I'm like, I'm not helping you. I'm like, you can do it. Yeah. I'm like, so I always make them, they have to try. Yeah. They have to do it. And then if they do need help, it's just a tiny bit, and then back to you.
But I think emotions being taught way early, if I could do it all over again and I had to keep, if I had to keep autism, I would have been let's jump to emotions to get to the why, because I think emotions, even being in that small amount of time in your classrooms, in both classrooms, if if they can identify the emotion, then they can identify their need, because it happens.
Oh, yeah, you
That
can
does
tell.
happen. And you could see the emotion.
Especially in pre-K, because they feed off of each other.
Yes.
So one will go off for whatever reason, and then the other one will do the same thing. And you're like, oh no. It's like boom, 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 boom. Ah! And it's panic, because now who do we calm down first?
Yeah.
The one on the desk, the one under the desk, or the one that just flipped the table? You're like, oh, and then we wait for a second.
Okay.
And eventually they look at each other. And I'm like,
That's the telepathy
oh.
too.
Yeah.
And then they go,
Communicate
oh,
with each
okay, we're
other.
good.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. And I enjoy it because I'm starting to understand it. Before, I was scared.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen.
And they feel it.
Yes.
I think for sure our kiddos can feel very much so if
Yes.
the person that they depend on is scared, frustrated, or tired, whatever it is, and that's, you'll see a corresponding behavior to it. But when you think about it, typical kids do the same thing.
I
Mom,
agree.
are you okay?
And consistency.
Or
Are you happy?
Yes.
cleaning up.
Every kid feeds off consistency. Routine is key. Because you know, when we have a student get to school late, oh boy,
Yeah.
the next 2 hours are going to be a doozy. Because especially with any student, but especially in autism, that student did not come through the gate. He did not walk with us to the lunchroom. He did not transition to the classroom. Now he's just here. Now he's mad.
Yeah.
And now we have to take 2 hours to get him back
Right.
on schedule. But again, that's with any child.
Yeah.
It's even more so with the child with autism because it's routine. You have
So
to
what
be
have you
consistent.
learned about yourself the most?
Ooh. Patience. I'm a lot more patient, and I'm more aware of my ignorance. I thought it was like when I walked in there, I had a lot of thoughts in my head, like they're uncontrollable.
Yeah.
They're this, they're that in my mind. In that program at the time, yes, there was a loss of control because they had lost their teacher. Again, that's in any class. But in my mind, and this sounds really bad, but it's like I'm going into crazy town.
Yeah.
That's ignorant. And in my mind, I didn't think I was capable of that.
But I don't think it was ignorant. I think that was fear talking.
Yes, ignorance, fear, all of the above. Because I don't know what I'm going into.
And
I'm
there
not
was
ready for this.
And what you've learned
Structure.
from society that is
Yes.
incorrect.
Yes, because
Right?
they're not going to get it. They're not going to know.
But
They're
there
not
was
gonna,
there was no structure. In
No.
fairness to you, to
Yes,
her,
there was no
There was
structure.
nothing written, nothing like
Right,
she
you don't know
literally
the kid.
walked
Oh my God,
into
oh
a
my God.
classroom
Because there was no
with
consistency.
nothing.
Yeah, they had been through 2 or 3 teachers by the time I got there. And like I said, with that aide, the two of us together, at first I didn't want to be in there at all. Once she was in there, I said, I'll be in there every day as long as she's in there.
Oh, I love that. Good aids.
But
Aids are
you have-
amazing.
yes, but you have to have the right one.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Wait, so you walked in
Not
and
her.
you didn't know,
I didn't know-
such and such does this,
No.
or that's the
No. And
outburst,
that's
or
another
that.
thing.
Yeah, no.
There was no
Snap.
no understanding of
Okay.
No training.
needs. Like, and I think this goes for any student everywhere. I wish there was a button you could push on them and like 3 little bullet points pop up.
Yeah, like
And that's for any
like
student.
a video game. Yeah.
Any student, because you have no idea what these kids go through. It should literally pop up.
Well-
but in autism, you got to know. I don't know.
And an IEP is, to me, super complicated
Yes, I can't
for
read that.
for a go-to.
I
If
need
I
bullet
was just
points.
gonna walk into a classroom, I'm a
I don't
substitute
know.
for the
Bless
day.
your heart. Like that is so.
I mean, going in blind. Woo. But now I have my little friends all the way across the lunchroom.
Oh yeah, they chase her down. They chase her down.
It's but
They
it's
chase her
so
down.
much fun because it's so genuine, and I know they're not faking it. When they see me and they approach me, I even have a little friend today. Oh, he's so handsome. He got his hair cut and he walked through that gate today, and I said, oh, he just balled up. I said, I see you. He came and put his head on my thigh. He said, I said, you just looking too good. And I just kept saying it all day just to see him blush and his little dimple pop out. Oh, he was so cute. But they know, and it's like, it's so much fun. And are there hard days? Yes, there are hard days. Very hard days. But it's worth it in the end. Like I love when they recognize, like, I'm like, they know me now.
Yes.
It's like, yay!
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's exciting. Like today, your little friend, Joyce had a little friend there. He eloped, like he took off running. So I said, I'm just gonna run beside him. I said, where are we going?
Yeah.
And we said, we're just running down the hall. And he stopped and he just stared at me. I said, where are we going? And he said, And he sat down. I said, I guess we're just gonna sit here for a minute then.
He's I just had
He
a
said,
little
wait,
burst of
I
energy.
said, where are we going? I don't. And then he's just looking. And we picked up his toys and we walked back. He said, oh, okay, this is not fun anymore. I said, we can run.
But here's the thing.
That's the thing. Like, you got to get to know
And they all have
their
different
jam.
personalities.
Yeah.
100%.
And
Yeah,
one is the same.
Yeah, that's
Holy moly, not one. It doesn't matter what, and I hate when they say autism. I'm like, I need more specific. I need the bullet
they're
points.
people,
Break it
and we
down.
are all
Break it down.
unique.
Yeah.
Like this one, okay, you give him chips, this, and this, done. Okay, he wants Legos, done, done, done. He wants the Magnetiles, done, done, done.
Yeah.
He needs the stuffed animal, done, done, done.
Yeah.
And I know, easy. That's so much easier.
There's this huge concept out right now in the advocacy world of autism is that they want to move away from the puzzle piece because that would imply that our kids are broken. Like there's a missing piece.
Really?
And I love that idea. I think we should move away from it. I think that we should use a fingerprint because they're all as unique as their fingerprint.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I
like that.
I think that when you meet one autistic person, you've done that. You've met one autistic person.
Right.
Yes.
And you might see some things that are familiar and some things that you can use or add to help or enhance someone else's life. But you've just met one person. And I think that it's also really important that we break down the fear.
Yes.
Because the fear will have you thinking all kinds of things, but also I think that what terrifies me is that the fear could also get our kids killed.
Yes.
And so by having conversations, by advocating, by asking questions, now I already knew you was gonna bust to you and go chase the kid with Stephanie down Rampart. But now the two of you would probably be doing the same thing. Like now that you know
what you're looking for.
It's just a kid who's scared. It's just like when you can remove those fears, we can have different conversations. We can open different doors. We can put them in different atmospheres to have them experience things and maybe, just maybe, change the world in a place, in a time and a space that is going to save humanity because you can look at them and see that it's just all love.
Well, autism is growing all the time, right? It used to be like one in, I don't even remember.
Well, when
like
Asher
it's like
is 1 in 69.
yeah,
Now
and now
she's
it's like
31.
now I'm 31. I think we're getting better at diagnosing it, but I also think I don't know if I should say this. I honestly, I really wonder what our environment, the hormones in our foods, like what is accelerating this so quickly, and so if it continues to grow so quickly, there are going to be so many more people with autism in our society. It's not just going to be one kid out of there's one kid that we knew in their class. It's going to be half of them, a majority of them.
And hopefully we'll start to teach differently.
Right.
We'll start to maybe look at the things that we're ingesting in our environment. That was where when we, at the top of the show, when we were talking about Robert Kennedy's statement is that we have such an opportunity because autism is at the forefront that we could really get some really strong research-based data on why the increase, besides just the fact that we're getting better at diagnosing it. And, when Liz just had a baby, little fat.
Thank you.
And she's like, Joyce, tell me about your vaccinations. And I was like, well, this is my philosophy. I would find a doctor that is open to a non-traditional vaccination schedule, that's open to you spreading them out, so on and so forth. I don't not believe in vaccination. I believe we should vaccinate our kids, but I also believe the fact of the matter is that our kids are reacting differently to them.
Right.
And so, and maybe some kids are not reacting to them at all. I can only tell you my kid did. If there's something in it that he had a propensity to that did a reaction, but to not have that information or not to have that protocol in place prior to just this regimen doesn't make sense to me when the numbers are increasing that way. But we won't even get there if we get so many different false narratives, because the truth of the matter is I will never give up hope on my son or on anyone else's son or daughter that has this diagnosis, because they're extraordinary human beings that can and do and have contributed to society for decades and millennia. I just believe that when we look through history, there just wasn't a diagnosis. Benjamin Banneker, Thomas Jefferson, Albert Einstein. I mean, Steve Jobs.
All the brilliance has been, honestly,
absolutely.
and dyslexia and everything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like, again, asking the questions, not being afraid, coming alongside. I want to encourage girlfriends of that are supporting families and supporting moms of autism to ask the hard questions and to be there in support, but ask questions, because we see the fear in your face anyways. And we know that you love us. We know that you are here to rally with us. I just want to thank you guys so much for humoring us, but also for asking the hard questions, Liz, and keeping the liquid in your face the whole time we did it. We hope that something that we said inspired you. We hope that something that we said gave you a little bit more knowledge and the ability to advocate. Just remember that that inclusion is paramount, and it is a verb. It is an action step. We have got to make sure that there's room at the table for everyone, and we have to stop building our own tables, because our kiddos deserve to be at the table with everyone. And if we build our own table, then we need to invite everyone. So again, we just are so happy that you joined us, and we want to thank you. And
can I say one more thing really quick? So when you're talking about, asking questions, I'm going to plead with everybody, don't be afraid to let your kids play with our kids.
That's good.
So one of my passions is an organization called Best Buddies, and we promote, you're good. We promote inclusion between general education students and special needs students. And we build that bridge in a very safe and non-judging way for them to come together and to play. And if you go down the high school, hey Ash, like people, they are saying hi to them because he's a person to them. They're not afraid. They know him. And that is so important. So please invite them over for the play day. Invite them over for the, the birthday party. And if they have a moment and they get upset, it's okay. Just let them go here. And if they're ready to come back, but don't shy away from that. And parents, I'm begging you, don't be afraid to take them to the party because you're embarrassed. Don't limit their exposure. Let them be in that space. So anyway, thank you.
And we want to thank Stephanie for joining us today.
Thank you for letting me come. You guys are amazing. Journey Forward.
Yes, check out Journey Forward. What's the website?
It's jfautism.com. We are ready and willing and excited to help your kids. And I'm just excited that I can help more kids than just my little classroom. So.
And I just want to echo that one more thing, that to make sure that you expose your kids. Don't be scared to not allow them to join. Many of you guys know and that are following us on Facebook that Asher and I are currently fighting a journey, fighting a fight of inclusion with the city of Las Vegas, and an amazing summer camp that he has grown and made really true friendships with, which also made him a pretty popular guy at his high school and in the Best Buddies program. Built in, and hopefully recruited some of his typical peers to be a part of the program because they weren't afraid and they did grow up with Asher. So I can only tell you that inclusion matters and it works, and it is an action verb, an action step, just like love is. So until next time, you guys, please, please, please remember to include and to love and to ask questions and to advocate. We are so happy you joined us. Take care. Bye.
Bye.